Ooh, welcome. It's your man, God of Docs, back with another episode of The Audible. Hope everybody is having a very good week. Hope everybody's had a very good day. Hope you are in good spirits and in good health. I know that I am. Yes. We're back with another episode of The Audible, breaking down all the latest and greatest from the world of football, college, and pros. Tonight, we're going to kind of wrap up the NFC North. If you've been checking out the earlier shows, if you haven't, make sure you go check them out. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't matter. Just engage. But we're going to wrap up the NFC North tonight. Oh, man. And tonight, I will be picking my division winner. Like I said, housekeeping of sorts. Next week, we'll be doing the AFC North, and then the week after that, we'll be wrapping it up with a two-part episode for the NFC West and a two-part episode for the AFC West. And after that, the season will be kicking off. Preseason games are kind of gone. I want to say it's a preseason game right now. But okay. I want to make sure I get all my previews out before the season starts. Like I said, the plan is currently to be doing a show on Monday and possibly doing a show on Thursday. I'm breaking down the games from on Sunday and looking forward to the games, previewing the games on Thursday. Also, with the Thursday slate, I've also will be including major, just the major, top 25-ish college football games. I'll be kind of previewing those, kind of give you my picks on those. And as always, with my picks, you can take them to the bank, of course. Now, I'm going to be trying something new tonight. Trying something new to add a little flavor to the show. Yes, I'm always working, tinkering with ideas, thoughts, and plans, and all that good stuff. So let me kind of get it going. Let me see how this sounds. All right, not too loud. Hope it's not overwhelming my voice. But we're gonna try this out tonight. See how it goes. See how, if it's a distraction for me or is it a distraction for you. Just give me feedback on it. In the comments, chat, whatever. All right. So NFC North, breaking it down. We've already broken down the Detroit Lions. We've already looked ahead with the Chicago Bears. Yesterday we focused in on the Green Bay Packers, and today we'll be focusing on the reigning division champions. Team that had a very good record last year, very good regular season record. We'll kind of break that down and talk about that in more detail as we break down the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings come into this season looking to repeat not only as NFC North division champions, but also hang out in the upper echelon at the NFC. If you was paying attention to them last season, they were in contention for the number one spot. They faded down the end, and then, playoff time come, and then you lose to the New York Giants. Minnesota Vikings are a very odd team to kind of break down, and I'm explaining to you why. They have youth in certain positions, but not youth in very key positions. But we're kind of breaking down. As always, when we're breaking down these teams, we always start with the most important position on the field, and that is the quarterback. Kirk Cousins. Good old Kirk Cousins. Middle of the road, average quarterback. Kirk Cousins, when he's good, he's pretty good. But when Kirk Cousins is bad, and Kirk Cousins tends to be bad when it matters the most, when the money is on the line, when it's a big game, when you need him to come through in the clutch. Kirk Cousins has historically shown in his time with the Minnesota Vikings, also in his time with the Washington Redskins, to come up short in the clutch when it matters most. You would think at this point in his career, as much experience Kirk Cousins has playing on a big stage, being in big moments, being in big positions, you would think he would be a much more consistent quarterback. But that's the hang up with Kirk Cousins. You never know what you're going to get. For a stretch of the season last year, he looked like he was in the running for MVP. I'm not going to lie to you, as well as he was playing, as well as that offense was playing last year. Kirk Cousins had my Minnesota Vikings fighting for the number one seed in the NFC for a good chunk of the season. And, it's because of his play. Now, I'm not a big Kirk Cousins fan because I've seen enough of him as being a Dallas Cowboys fan. So I've seen enough of him when he was with the Washington Redskins, and I've seen just about enough of him with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, the Minnesota Vikings had an opportunity this year. It wasn't a fairly strong quarterback clash, but you would think with them not offering Kirk Cousins the big money contract extension, not really showing a lot of faith, and that tends to be the story of Kirk Cousins contracts in the NFL. Many times he's been franchised and given short-term contracts. You would thought they would have went out and spent some real draft capital and possibly drafting a quarterback. Will Levis was on the board when they picked in the first round. They went with first round pick Jordan Addison. We're going to talk about him more in the receiver room, how that has changed and how some things may stay the same. But I thought they would have spent a little draft capital bringing in a young quarterback to be groomed behind Kirk Cousins, look forward towards the future. You obviously don't have Kirk Cousins in your long-term plan, else you would have gave him the big money contract extension a player of his ilk typically gets. If Daniel Jones can get paid, Kirk Cousins should have got paid. But Minnesota has kind of taken a wait and see approach when it comes to Kirk Cousins, and rightfully so. He's average at best, doesn't do anything in particularly well, is not doesn't have the greatest arm strength, can be inaccurate at times, very turnover prone, especially when we're talking about big game situation. That tends to be the issue with the Kirk Cousins. But enough of Kirk Cousins and in the quarterback room. Let's look at the rest of the offense. Offense has changed. It has some key pieces leaving out, namely Dalvin Cook, the running back, starting running back, played all 17 games last year, had a very good season, notched another Pro Bowl bid. But the Minnesota Vikings, due to his contract, decided, hey, they wanted to move in another direction, spend that money elsewhere. Where they spent it at, we'll kind of talk about that because some of those pickups were questionable at best. But they moved on for Dalvin Cook, and now you're relying on Alexander Mattison, who I think is a very decent running back. Is not in the same caliber as a Dalvin Cook, obviously, but is a very decent, running back. He's not Dalvin Cook, whereas Dalvin Cook was very good between the tackles, very good at making guys miss in short yardage situations. Madison is more of a who can I really compare Alexander Madison's game? He reminds me of Tony Pollard to a degree. Very much has big play potential when he touches the ball. Just hasn't really got a lot of time to show his stuff in Minnesota, playing behind Dalvin Cook. Now that you're the lead dog, you're the lead horse, we're going to see what you actually do, what you actually produce out there on the field. I'm not too high on the running back room when you really look at it. They did bring in Ty Chandler. I would think Minnesota may be in the market, depending on how the rest of this preseason shakes out. As far as roster cuts and changes like that, they may be looking to bring in another running back to complement Madison. But if you're going to depend on Madison to be your starting running back, get the bulk of the carries, basically fulfill the Dalvin Cook role, good luck with that. Now, the lone bright spot on this offense has got to be the wide receiver room. I'm not going to say wide receiver room. I'm going to include the tight ends with that. You have Justin Jefferson, arguably the best receiver right now in the NFL. I don't think you can make an argument for other receivers to be in that conversation, but the conversation has to start with Justin Jefferson, considering the year that he had last year, and I think the year he's poised to make this year. Gone is Adam Thielen out of that wide receiver room, who has been a very reliable wide receiver for them over the course of his career with the Minnesota Vikings. But they cut him. Thielen got picked up by the Carolina Panthers. But Minnesota did something very curious. I thought with Will Levis sitting right there, maybe a Herndon Hooker sitting right there in the first round. I thought Minnesota would have went wide, not wide receiver, but I thought they would have went quarterback. Considering how bad defense played, especially down the stretch last year, I thought they would have spent the first round pick. There was still some quality defensive players out there, quality secondary players out there. No, but they went with Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, former wide receiver, University of Southern California, USC. Very good route runner, a very different type wide receiver than Adam Thielen, is a little bit smaller. You're probably going to see Addison moved around a lot, primarily be playing out of the slot. It's not really put on a lot of weight, a lot of girth on himself to really be a mainstay on the outside. I want to say Addison is what, 5'9", a buck 80 maybe. Maybe, but yeah, I see Addison playing primarily out of the slot in this new style offense. Now, I do like them bringing in KJ Osborne, who I like. I like Jalen Rager. I think he still has some potential, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Jalen Rager still has some potential to contribute in this offense. I think he'll have opportunities. So will KJ Osborne to really solidify their chance to be the number 2 receiver in this room. And when we're talking about receivers, like I said, I was including the tight end position. Now, they made a midseason trade last year with the Detroit Lions, bringing in TJ Hawkinson, who is a very, 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 very talented pass catching receiver. Now, if you need Hawkinson to be blocking like Gronk, it ain't happening, Captain. But I think TJ Hawkinson provides a very good safety net for Kirk Cousins. I think Justin Jefferson is going to get a lot more coverage rolled his way if he didn't already have it last year. Teams are not really going to be fearing Addison to really expose them as maybe a Thielen would. Thielen is was a much more savvy route runner, knew how to find the open spots, had proven sure hands. Addison did suffer a little bit with the drop C's at USC. Like I said, he doesn't really have the size to be on the outside consistently. But you have a TJ Hawkinson. I think that takes some of the pressure off of Jordan Jefferson. Question you got to have with this team is, with the offensive line hold up like they did last year. Last year, offensive line played much better than they had in previous years. They, guys got better, especially Bradbury. Darisaw took the next step in his progression to being an elite left tackle. I do like right tackle Brian O'Neill. Not flashy, but consistent enough. And like you said, like I was saying earlier, Minnesota Vikings had one of the better offenses last year. Truth be told, I got to keep it a buck with that. Had one of the better offenses last year. It's mainly because the offensive line kind of improved in bunches. Now will we be getting that same play from the offensive line? Will they be able to create some of those same running lanes for Alexander Mattison that they had for Dalvin Cook? Will that offensive line be able to hold up to the pressure? Because I expect teams when they're playing the Minnesota Vikings this year to really roll coverage towards Jordan Jefferson, maybe have a safety drop down in the box to cover Hawkinson and, send the dogs, blitz. I expect Minnesota to be one of the most blitz teams kind of early until we kind of see what this offense looks like with some of the changes that they made on that side of the ball. Like I was saying earlier, they did bring in Jordan Mattison as the first round pick. I was kind of surprised. I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of surprised just for the simple fact that defense needed so much attention. So much attention needed to be put to the defensive side of the ball. The defense was especially coming down the stretch, was bad last year. Hold on, let me turn this off because it's distracted me now because I want to start doing some other stuff. All right. Okay, cool. But just let me know what y'all think about adding some of that to the show because I'm working on some stuff. Well, when we look at the defensive side of the ball, it's some pieces to like, but it's a lot of question marks, and where they have the question marks at is places you really don't want to be having question marks when we were talking about trying to compete for a championship, trying to compete for a division title this upcoming season. Now, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, you have Zadarius Smith. They did bring in Marcus Davenport, former defensive end for the New Orleans Saints. Really hasn't, I guess, played to his potential. Now, I will say that. Really hasn't played it to his potential. This has been an okay defensive end, not to say that he's been a bust, but considering the draft capital that New Orleans gave up to trade up to get him, you would thought he'd have been a lot better, thought the production would have been a lot better. Now he has the opportunity coming over after playing with one elite defensive lineman in Cameron Jordan and playing with another elite defensive lineman in Daniil Hunter. It was questions whether he was going to be in training camp. Was he going to be satisfied? They ended up breaking him off. Didn't really find any trade partners for him, so they extended him, and now he's a happy camper. I do like Daniil Hunter on one side. Zadarius Smith, if he's healthy, and that's a key if with him. If he's healthy, if he plays like he played for the Green Bay Packers a couple of years ago, you might have something as far as the pass rush. The interior of the defensive line is okay. I mean, you have bodies, but losing Dalvin Tomlinson, who was known as a run stuffer. I mean, I guess it can't be any worse. But then again, it could be. The defense, like I said, the defense is, in my opinion, it's not a lot to like. I mean, some young players, but it's not a lot to really be like, yeah, I can see this team really matching up well with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see this team matching up well with the San Francisco 49ers. I don't see them matching up well with the Cowboys. You saw what happened to them last year when they played Dallas. This defense, I think, is going to be what holds them back, and it's a really a big determining factor as far as my pick for the division. And I'll make my finalized pick tonight. I mean, we look at the linebacker core. You have Jordan Hicks, Brian Oswald, like okay rotational players, but you're banking on these guys to be starters. They did move on from Eddie Kendricks, who had kind of outstayed his welcome as a much older linebacker. Like I said, I thought they would have spent a lot more early draft capital in shoring up the defensive side of the ball. It's like they got guys, but it's not guys that really turn your head. Hopefully one of these guys kind of breaks out that they drafted, but I mean, it's like it's not a lot to love. I mean, I'm just like I said, they got young guys, but this is not a rebuilding situation. I thought they would have been a lot more aggressive in addressing the defensive side of the ball, spend a lot more money, draft capital on that side. Like I said, linebacker core leaves much to be desired. The secondary outside of Harrison Smith and Lewis Sign, who I like very much as a young safety. I mean, Byron Murphy's okay. Coming over from the Arizona Cardinals as a free agent, he's okay. Andrew Booth, former Clemson cornerback, they've kind of been waiting for him to kind of stay healthy and blossom into a number one. But when you look at the secondary, man, it's Pickens. It's slim Pickens. I don't see a shutdown corner in the room. Byron Murphy, borderline 2, maybe number 3 type cornerback, but he's kind of penciled in as the starter. Andrew Booth, a lot of potential coming out of college, but injuries kind of sapped that away from him. Really hasn't proven too much for me. I mean, this is my opinion. I think Harrison Smith and Sign are really going to have to kind of shore up the shortcomings. And for Minnesota defense to be successful, to them to show marketed improvement this upcoming season, I think the pass rush is going to have to be crazy. Daniil Hunter is going to have double-digit sacks. Zadarius Smith, Marcus Davenport are going to have double-digit sacks. They're going to have to be able to create a lot of pressure to where that secondary is not exposed as much. If they're going to play the same kind of defense they played last year, the bend don't break, it's going to be a whole lot more breaking. And the defense is a reason, like, on paper, I mean, when you look at this division on paper, Kirk Cousins, clearly the best quarterback in this division right now. Justin Jefferson, clearly the best wide receiver. I mean, the offensive line can compete with anybody else in the division, but the defense, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Out of all the teams in this division, Minnesota gives me the most concern because outside of those edge rushers, the middle of the defensive line doesn't look good. I mean, you got rotational type linebackers starting for you. Young guys at corner. I mean, they drafted a guy, Mekhi Blackman, in I want to say the 2nd or 3rd round. I mean, you're really banking on these young guys to really blossom this year on the back end. And I'm not seeing it. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm not seeing it. I don't see these guys getting um markedly better than they were last year, and the defense was suspect at best last year. So my pick, my pick, and I know some people, y'all will hold me to it. My pick for the division title winner and for the NFC North this upcoming season, I got to go Detroit. I got to go Detroit. I think Detroit matches up well when we're talking about offensive capability with the Minnesota Vikings. Detroit doesn't have the best defense in the division. I think Green Bay has the best defense in the division, but I think the additions that they made on the defensive side of the ball clearly, in my opinion, puts them as the number 2 defense in this division. And I think, Detroit is going to come out a lot more focused. They were my dark horse pick last year, and those that follow me know how high I was on Detroit last year. I'm high on them again. I got Detroit winning this division. I'm gonna say winning it by 2 games. I got them winning it by 2 games. I just don't think Minnesota is going to be able to keep pace now with the defense that they have now. I do see Minnesota. And I will say this with the offense that they have. I think Justin Jefferson is due for another big year. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be regular season Kirk Cousins and produce at the level he's supposed to produce at. But I just don't see him overcoming Detroit in the long haul over the course of the season. If you look at the second half of the season, in my opinion, Detroit played better than Minnesota. Minnesota, if they're not careful, if they don't come out, with some real changes, we don't see marketable improvement from the young guys that they do have, and guys playing above their skill level on the defensive side of the ball, I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota ends up as the number 3 team. Green Bay, low key may be the best. I mean, the second best team in this division, maybe the best. The second best team in this division. I'm not going to pick Green Bay to win the division. I got Detroit winning the division last year. They were my dark horse. This year, they're clearly what's going on, Spot. They are clearly. I think Detroit is clearly set up to take over this division. I think this division, for the most part, for the next 2 to 3 seasons, I'm expecting a lot of flux in this division. I think Detroit right now has the most potential to remain, on an upward, trajectory. I do like the moves that Chicago made. I do like what Green Bay has. Green Bay, I'm curious to see what Jordan Love's look like. First time really starting, and having full control of the offense, full confidence of the team. This division could be up in the could be one of those divisions that's routinely up in the air for a number of seasons. I don't see any team being a dominant force in this division, but right now, excuse me, I gotta go. I gotta go with Detroit. Detroit's going to be my pick. I do have Minnesota making it into the playoffs. Green Bay is my number 3. Chicago is my bottom of the division, but it's not to say that I think Chicago is going to be a very bad team. I think they're going to be competitive if they're able to unleash Justin Fields like they did for a portion of last season. They can kind of keep him upright and keep him getting blasted as much as he was getting blasted last year, trying to keep him in the pocket. This division is sneakily. I think within the next 2 to 3 years, we might be talking about the NFC champion coming out of this division. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Just gonna be honest with you. We'll talk about the NFC West. Not next week, but the week after. AFC West gonna be 2 weeks from now. We'll be breaking that division down. Clearly, I got Kansas City as my Super Bowl pick, but it's a lot to like in that division. It's a lot. If you're not excited for the upcoming season for your team, if unless you're like a Cardinals fan or something like that, it's a lot to be hopeful for. Things break your way. We might be talking about you as being a surprise team. Green Bay, Chicago. I mean, you might be looking at the next New York Jets team from last year, a team that kind of came out of nowhere, surprised a lot of people, caught people's attention. Playing good football, good sound football. But I got Detroit as being my division winner now. As always, like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Check out the content on the channel. Like I said, next week we'll be breaking down the AFC North. My initial pick is Cincinnati, but I've been liking what I'm seeing from Baltimore. But we'll talk about that next week. I'm not sure if I'll be doing a Freestyle Friday tomorrow. If I do, don't worry. I'll make sure to set the show up in enough time so you can kind of come and chime in and kick it with me. Other than that, let me kind of get up out of here, man. It's always, it's appreciated. Thanks for taking the time to listen to little old me. It's always a pleasure, man. I'm looking forward to this season. Very, very, very hyped about this season, about the, new players coming up, new teams rising up. I think it's gonna be, a very, 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 very good season coming up. Let me kind of end it off with this. Let me hit y'all with the phrase that pays around here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.